Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to review Axelar. For those who are unfamiliar with how my channel works, what I do is I do research, I feed it into a model. The model has an output. I weigh that output to reality. I reflect and modify to see if the model is reflected upon actual results. And so then I change the model to better correlate to the results so that it has the highest ROI possible in the cryptocurrency space. This is the model. The project is Axelar, and I'm going to go ahead and dive into it. So let me get this ready. This project, let me see here. What problem or market solution does this project currently solve or serve? The solution is to enable communication and interaction across ecosystems. It's a cross-chain. It's a protocol that allows for communication between blockchains. So if you have blockchain, you can think of it as this middle layer that allows for communication between blockchains. I'm not going to go too much into detail on exactly the purpose of these blockchains, but what blockchains do and what they allow for in a general sense is the Web3, web ownership, the transfer and storage of value that's more secure than centralized systems, than banking, etc. And what this protocol is doing is allowing for those different protocols to communicate with each other. So it's like an infrastructure type of service. The solution is to enable communication interaction across these ecosystems using something called cross-chain gateway protocol. It allows for easy integration of blockchains, similar to the border gateway protocol used in the internet. So there's no need for constant changes with the CGP protocol and the cross-chain transfer protocol. So basically it's saying that it will stay up to the proper standards to allow for these communications to happen as the protocols change. So when it says it's like the border gateway protocol, like the traditional web, BGP right here, it's basically a it's like it in that it's a routing protocol between internet service providers. So that is basically internet packages, information packages, code packages, etc., and how those packages go on this virtual highway to these different ecosystems, allowing for applications to communicate, etc. That's the service. That's what I want you to think about when you think about what this problem this thing solves. So how it works is, just simply put, I'm trying not to go too, this is a very high level or low level, this is broad. I'm not trying to go too deep into it. I'm just trying to be broad here. So it accounts on each chain. It has accounts on each chain, and it has different control functions and code and information, etc. with those different accounts. It uses state synchronizations that are established so that the two chains are synchronized and they agree with each other. They have something called threshold key management, which is proofs for not like the susceptibility to hacking or centralized control of these accounts that protect them and allow for them to act in autonomous ways, so expected ways. It has simple API calls for these interactions so that there's libraries for coders to create these interactions to the services provided or these interconnections between different blockchains. It's got composability access platforms, which allows for composability is basically how these different codes work well together, like Legos. And then how consistent and synchronous they are, etc. It also is a platform for developers to have governance model over these integrations, over this protocol, so that they vote to validate our decisions, so that the developers are involved in the governance of this layer. And obviously the token is involved in the control of that. All right, so yeah, without making it too complex, right? The previous solutions are centralized exchanges, interoperable ecosystems. So this will probably have a DEX on it that allow for trading different tokens, just like Rune does today. A trustless exchange. You also have interoperable ecosystems, which are complicated that it'll resolve for. And also these wrapped assets, token bridges, those are limited in functionality. So these are the things that make Axelar better than what currently exists. So they're better than centralized exchanges because they're not centralized, and hopefully they'll offer those services. They're better than interoperable ecosystems because those are complicated. This aims to be simple. And it's better than wrapped assets and token bridges because those are limited in what they're capable in scope. Axelar's solution is a decentralized platform for communication and interaction. And so the fees from this service provided go to validators. All right, so I hope I didn't bore you too much with the details there in what it really does. Now I'm going to get into what the model expects for token performance. Okay, so the model expects neutral price action in comparison to other cryptos. Actually, let me put this as yellow. The model, actually, I'm going to do purple so I know it. So it's a neutral for that. Price FOMO, neutral. Upcoming events, neutral. So when we look at the roadmap, Telegram said last time, 2 months ago, they said something about doing a roadmap under construction. I couldn't find any updates on that. So that was the last time I could find something in their Telegram about their roadmap, the latest iteration of the roadmap about 2 months ago. Now, they didn't have many updates on Medium. The last post was in March, and then they were posting a bunch in January and in December of the previous year, et cetera. Like they were doing a good job at posting in Medium, but then they stopped. So I said that was kind of a red flag, but they have been keeping up on Twitter. So it seems they just simply have been using that particular outlet for their Medium outlet, for their social media. They've been using Medium less, and they've been using Twitter more. And that's where you'll see that they are putting out ecosystem, Twitter rooms, etc. So they're staying up to date with that kind of stuff. So this roadmap represents months. We can see at this time period is about when 50% of the tokens will be released in about between 15 and 18 months. 50% of the tokens will be released at that time. And I guess I'll go right into why that's important. So one of the reasons why the model expects neutral price action, even though this is a stronger project, is because the inflation rate is going to be quite aggressive. So it has to really overcome that negative force if it wants to perform in the context of other cryptos. It's going to have like 100. So it appears to be that about 50% of tokens will be released after a year 2. You can see the release schedule here, and this project's been like trading for a couple of months. But it'll have 50 plus inflation at that time. So I put, from this perspective, it seems that around year 3 is when we can expect that, around this year 3 is when we can expect it to be from that point forward, about a 25% from that point, inflation, 25. From year 2, it'll be a 50%. And from year 1, which we're right about here, but even here, it's like a 300%, right? Inflation. So that's why it's negative from that standpoint, from the inflation, from the tokens being released standpoint. There's a lot of tokens to be released, and but it's also got a relatively low market cap. It's got a 53 million circulating, but it's a fully diluted of 500 million. So these are going to be the metrics you have to think about. Where a lot of the value, like if this project is successful at growing, a lot of that growth is going to come from token sales rather than price appreciation. A lot of that value in market cap, in value from capturing market, will go to the token holders who are, who invested early, so to speak. So it's a very heavily VC-oriented chain. A lot to the team and to VCs. This project is going to capture all the wealth to people who got in early rather than people who would invest now, so to speak. And so that's the biggest risks from the tokens being released perspective. And that's why you can see all of these effects right here. You can see all of these effects right here leading to neutral price action expected because of that heavy amount of tokens to be released. Now, regarding price action, it hasn't been under any FOMO. We are in a bear market, so these are just general green metrics. It raised $75 million, so they have a decent amount of money they raised, and it's about 50% down from the ICO price. So we could say that it's going to go up in price, maybe because the ICO people don't want to sell at a negative, for what they bought the tokens at. All right, so is a token used for services or governance? The token is used for governance of the network, vote for protocol decisions. As I stated earlier, in what this thing does is it's that middle layer for communication between blockchains. It is one of the governance tools for that to happen. It is a vote on the protocol decisions, vote for delegated validators. There's a DPoS system, delegated proof of stake. You bond to validators, and it's similar to Cosmos, Tendermint technology, / if bad behavior, etc. It's a typical proof of stake from that angle. And also the token is used to pay for fees, which go to validators, and obviously the DAO decisions and the DAO fund. So it's like a regular P2E with that. Now I put these things as neutral. Usually this would be green with the way the token model is, but because of that heavy release of tokens, I put those as neutral price action things. Value of the target market. This is basically the future infrastructure of Web3. That's what they're going for. That's a very large market opportunity. So even if it is a 500 million market cap right now, the opportunity for how big that's going to be for the future web is like in the trillions, probably 400 trillion or greater. All right. So yeah, that's all of those metrics. From a governance standpoint, now there are some things I didn't like about governance. There's some things that are good. The things I didn't like is they do not have a time lock wait mechanism. Now, this is only important to the degree that centralized exchanges have this token. What that means is that if you park your token on a centralized exchange, that exchange can vote on your behalf in this proof of stake system, meaning someone who didn't pay for the token is voting on the behalf of those who do own the token, and that could be very parasitic to the token. But if you have time lock wait, that gets rid of that risk, but they don't have that. Or, things like Polkadot do. Polkadot has one of the most solid governance models that I've seen. So that's one of the things that makes it a little weaker there. That being said, everything else is pretty solid. So I would say that the governance is pretty solid. Just the biggest risk is centralized exchanges or people getting a hold of tokens that did not buy those tokens, voting on the behalf of those who did buy the tokens. And that's that's a diminishing type thing over time because crypto is getting more decentralized over time as people are realizing that centralized exchanges are not where you want to be. Regarding the team, very strong team for this project. Sergey Gorbanov, co-founder, chief cryptographer from Algorand. He worked there from 2018 to 2020. So he's got a PhD from MIT in computer science. So that's a strong resume there. George Vlagas, co-founder, head of mathematics at Algorand. So you can see it's got an Algorand background. MIT master's computer science. So these founders have experience. They've seen the show. They've done the thing before. So they're a solid team. They're academic background, business experience from Algorand. So a solid team. Now the question might be, why did they leave Algorand? Maybe they didn't leave Algorand. Maybe they still have those connections, and they just saw that we need a multi-chain future rather than a one-chain future, and that might have been why they left. Who knows? Strategic partners and backers. So right here, they're connected to all these chains. So that's very solid. You can see many projects. I personally like Moonbeam, Ethereum. They're connected to Polygon. They're connected to many of these projects. Cosmos, that connected. So it shows that they're doing it. They're doing the job of making this an infrastructure play. So that looks solid to me. Okay, so all of these developer metrics, this is a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. That means funding is decided by the token holders. And so it does have a $70 million fund right now for developers. So it looks like there will be development activity for developers to make services provided get better over time, and the user experience should get better over time. So those are all green metrics. This thing will have a moat. It will have a flywheel if it is successful. Best of the competition. There's a lot of competition. There's Quant, Router, These are all in between layer protocols. ICP is another one. Those are all kind of going for the same market. But remember, this is going to be a huge market, the Web3, etc. The network effect, I expect it to do well on that angle. I do expect it to capture some network effect because it does have a solid team, etc. Tokens per person to go down, etc. So exponential growth, they have 83 million total value locked. They have, you can check out Axelar scan, where there's about 2.6 million moved a day. So it's getting used. It does have a good liquidity depth ratio for its market cap, so it looks like its niche is working as it is relatively recently launched from a trading perspective. Large business models demand token to reflect their needs. I put this as neutral until, I gotta neutralize that. I put that as neutral until it becomes a big winner. So I don't expect big businesses to want to hold the token until it is a bigger in success. So, but still green from that perspective. All right, so final summary. Pros: experienced team, large market opportunity for structural role. They're not under any hype right now. Crypto in general is not under any hype. So that is a solid thing there. We're in a bear market, so this is the best time to enter crypto right now. You're not going to get anyone hyping anything right now. Integrations are solid. The cons: major inflationary effect for 2+ years. So a lot of the value, if the team is successful, a lot of that wealth is just going to go straight to the team, straight to the VCs. You will not get a lot of that. There's a good chance that it's better just to hold Ethereum than this, because even if it goes up in market cap a lot, it still has a lot of tokens to be dumped at least right now, in the future. So it might be a better price this is just from a price standpoint. To me, this project looks solid from a market adoption standpoint, but from a price standpoint, it doesn't look so solid. May be complex to maintain because all those integrations, we don't know how complex that will be, but they said that they are designed to not gather complexity from all these different projects. And there's no protection from centralized exchange voting or those who vote with other users' tokens' behalf. Or at least I didn't see that. There might be, but I didn't see it. So that's the general gist of it. Now I'm going to get into my Patreon exclusive content. But this is basically to provide an unbiased evaluation, show you what my model says in general about projects that I run through the model. And next I'm going to run and show what my Patreon exclusive decision making is. And if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.